Hello, beloveds. Hello. Hope everyone is having a good day. I would like to talk about peace today. This is a little bit of a follow-up to the last talk about rage and anger. And I know actually, I've had many conversations with people about forgiveness of the self, forgiveness of others. How do we forgive? Why do we forgive? In what ways do we forgive? What does forgiveness really look like? So I thought this would be a good follow-up conversation. So thank you for all of your questions, and please continue to send them to me to have conversations. I really love connecting in this way. And yeah, beginning to really look at our emotions, to look at why we do the things that we do as individuals so that we can create change in our lives and then really create change in the world, right? So we can be reflections in this world because we have changed our inner world and where we're at. So thank you for being with me today. Thank you for listening in. And let's just start by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Sigh it out, breathe it out the nose, whatever feels good to you. Maybe take a little wiggle in the body. Let yourself release, right? So I think for me, that is part of what I recognize as forgiveness is the releasing aspect. I feel like I need to note, but I'm not perfect with my forgiveness track record. I'd love to say that I am, and for sure it is something that I am working on. And I'm a human, and sometimes it's hard. So I'd like to start by saying the other day I was reminded of the saying how what is it? Anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I was really mad the other day. I was really, really, really mad. And I kind of kept getting caught in these loops of thoughts, these ruminating thoughts. And I thought of that. Oh, I'm drinking the poison. And it was affecting my day to a good extent. One, being caught in this thought loop. And two, because I wasn't enjoying myself. I was feeling the anger. I was feeling the rage. And I wasn't feeling it in a way of, oh, that's interesting. Although there were moments of that. There were moments of me saying, oh, actually, I'm really, really sad. Which is another takeaway from the anger episode, actually, where I was having conversations about how anger is often the first stage of grief, right? It can be indicating our loneliness, our sadness, our whatever it is, our hurt, a betrayal, our disconnection. And then I had this thought of, okay, what if because I wasn't ready to let go of my anger. What if I am not happy about the situation, but I choose to be happy in this moment? If I choose to say, but I'm going to enjoy the activity that I'm doing right now. I'm going to enjoy this very moment. And for me, I took a lot more time outside. I took more walks during that period when I was able to, and just would stop and look at the trees and really reflect on how these trees grow in one place, and that's their whole life, right? Is their whole life a meditation where they exist where they are? It's a side thought. We don't need to go there. But forgiveness is something that I believe comes up when we need to look at our boundaries, when we need to look at our needs and our feelings. And this can be something that can be quite challenging in a society that is often telling us to uh, quite literally and aggressively telling us to ignore our body's signals. I even was talking with a friend who was also struggling at the same time as me, and she was sharing that uh, when her body gives her a signal, she does her best to listen to it because she feels like she has so few signals from her body. And I was, saying, yeah, our society tells us not to feel, to ignore our feelings, to move through our feelings that are telling us to do the opposite. And there are times where we, really can persevere, and, our mind is stronger than our body. But there are many signals that our body communicates to us, that we're thirsty, that we're tired, that we need to cry. We need to let go of this emotion that's being pent up within us. And there is a difference. Actually, this is something I've heard a lot in different spiritual community aspects about how fear and intuition can be hard to distinguish at times when we're not really connected to our inner knowing, when we're not aware of our habits, of our emotional tendencies. So these are some things to think about as we begin to look at our feelings as well as forgiveness. So if you really struggle to connect to your feelings, if you feel like I have no idea what I'm feeling, I direct you to look at a feelings wheel. There are many on the internet. There are some by the Gottman Institute, for sure, is one that I really like. There also, you can find a feeling and needs sheet, I believe, through the Nonviolent Communication, the New York Center for Nonviolent Communication. And there are a lot online. There are some really short ones where there's different faces associating with different emotions. So those are things that you can just also look up a list of emotions and just read them one by one. Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling hurt? Am I feeling despair? Am I feeling dejected? Whatever it is. Go through. What am I really feeling? And sometimes there are things that aren't quite feelings. So this is something that I learned in the nonviolent communication I took with the NYC NVC about how sometimes we use language like, I feel so unheard right now. But what does it really mean to be unheard? You can feel heard, but what does it mean to feel unheard or disrespected? Well, I can feel respect. What is the disrespect? And I find that often there are actually feelings underneath that. It's not so much disrespect as hurt or betrayal, etc. So that is step one, identifying really your feelings. As I was saying earlier, I was feeling so much anger, and I'm in a phase of honoring Kali, who is known as a goddess of destruction primarily, but she is also a divine mother, and she is very generous and also can be a little brutal, right? Because she's like cutting away the ego, she's cutting away the illusions. And I was so angry, and I was chanting to her, and I was sitting in front of my altar, and I got halfway through and I actually couldn't keep chanting. I had to switch to mentally chanting because I started choking up. I started crying. I was like full on crying. I was so mad 30 minutes earlier, and all of a sudden I was sobbing. And I was like, oh, I'm actually deeply sad. I'm actually really grieving this situation. And it's coming out as anger, which, is the first stage of grief, but also is, for my history, an easier emotion to process, right? Like, it's way easier to be mad than sad. That feels like I can get a lot more done. I'm mad. I'm going to, I don't know, stomp around and go on a walk. And like, it gives this energy where I'm going to go do something, where sometimes sadness for me has resulted in kind of a collapsing feeling. So, looking at my energy that this is bringing forward, but then actually connecting and, oh, I'm sad. Well, the next phase, we know what our feelings are, whatever it is. What do we need? Do we need connection? I think sometimes when we look at forgiveness, some people are like, I need an apology. I need that person not to do what they did or to take back what they said. But, the funny thing about this 3D time we're in, where time does seem very linear, is that you can't go back. You can't undo what was did. You can't take back what was said. You can apologize, for sure. And apology is a great way to reconnect to your friend, your partner, your loved one, whoever it is, to address that relationship and to repair. But two things there. One, not all apologies are equal. There are some that are hollow, and there are some that are truly meaningful. So looking at really what that means to you and what you're really needing in that apology. What is it that you're looking for? Is it acknowledgement? Is it understanding? And the other side of that is sometimes we don't get an apology. Sometimes that person is no longer in our lives. Sometimes it's just not going to happen. So it comes back to us being willing to forgive for ourselves, and that is a big thing. I am sure you can find many memes, or not memes. You can find many inspirational pictures of a sunset over a beach that says, forgive for yourself. But to a large degree, it is quite true. And this is also where forgiveness of self does come in too, because sometimes we do need to forgive ourselves. Sometimes we have apologized if we've been the one that needs to apologize. And the other person has said, yeah, it's okay. I understand why you're feeling that way. And I appreciate that you apologized. And, I still really care about you. And we're still punishing ourselves because we're not willing to forgive ourselves. So if that is you, you might want to take a moment. And when I say a moment, for me, I'm really kind of talking about sitting with yourself, journaling, writing, drawing, whatever it is. Choose your method of emotional processing. But looking at why you're not really able to forgive yourself, as well as, is that a tendency that you have, is to withhold forgiveness from yourself or from others. So just some things to consider. Forgiving others, again, we may not receive that apology, but do we still want to carry the feeling that we have? So let's pause and go back to needs for a second, because needs is something that also people don't really think that they have, which is really fascinating. And I was one of those people for a long time. And I had a therapist who asked me about what I needed. I was really unhappy in a relationship that I had at that time. And my therapist asked me, okay, well, what do you need in this relationship? And I was like, I don't even know what kind of question that is. I don't need anything. I'm fine, which, what? I need water to live. I need food. And in our relationships, what are the purpose of our relationships if we have no needs? There is a lot to be said for not being able to acknowledge our needs. And what I'll leave you with, and what helped me, was writing down all the ways that I felt disconnected in that relationship. And that really showed me, oh, actually, those are needs. I need communication. I need care. I need a sense of connection. I need mutuality. I need understanding. I need to feel heard. So those are some examples. Your list may be different. There are some pretty standard needs that we all have as humans, particularly, on all levels, physically, right? Like many of us have the same needs. Some of us have some extra needs. And if you have a need, you're not being needy. And you're not, I was told this by someone who their therapist shared it with them, but this little nugget of wisdom that you're not asking for special treatment to have your needs met. They're just your needs. And so we don't need to attach anything to them or shame ourselves or, well, I need this, but I shouldn't because blah, blah, blah. No. We're not stopping ourselves from deserving things that we deserve. You deserve to feel your feeling. Your feelings are validated. I'm validating them right now. Stamp, stamp. They just are. So your feelings and your needs are very connected. They're really showing you what's important to you and where you need some attention, right? Need some something. So I know I've already talked for like 20 minutes and I haven't even gotten into like the whole forgiveness part, but I do feel like these are really crucial aspects when we're looking at forgiveness. So the next part of forgiveness that I would like to look at is forgiving doesn't always mean that nothing changes. I would actually say that forgiveness means that something is 100% going to change. And whether that is only your mood and saying, you know what, I forgive this person, I forgive myself, I forgive the situation, whatever it is, I forgive this and I'm letting it go. I am moving into the present moment. I'm moving into the future without carrying this with me, without this weighing me down. But also, when you're forgiving somebody else, I find that there is some change. Now, if this person has apologized to you, if they're actively in your life and they truly want to make amends, you can forgive them and you can decide if you want to go forward. Just because someone else wants to continue the relationship doesn't mean that you do. And that's okay. What works for you? What are you feeling? What are you needing? Still coming back to those. Those are crucial. And it's okay to say, you know what? I totally forgive you. And I don't want a relationship with you. I don't really see a role for you in my life anymore. You don't need to say these things. Just a reminder. Like, we can still be kind. But, setting your boundaries, which are part of needs, checking in with your boundaries. And you can also go the other way. Do you know what? Thank you for apologizing. I forgive you, and I'd like to continue this relationship. Continuing a relationship with someone, forgiving them when they haven't apologized is entirely up to you. I don't know many people that have expressed that situation. And the people that I have heard that are trying to do that doesn't really sound like they've forgiven in the way that they are letting it go. And when that happens, I would say that's more like false forgiveness. And I feel like I'm just making that up. It's false forgiveness, but it's something that's creating resentment because it's not truly being let go. And so let's come back to forgiveness and how we can do that. Again, I'm not perfect in this. I struggle with this. I have situations in my life that I am still struggling. And again, another opportunity for reflection and journaling or whatever you would like to do about forgiving someone, because the next phase, if you want to keep that relationship, would be to reestablish the bond, which could mean, if trust was broken, rebuilding trust. It could mean renegotiating your boundaries. It could mean defining the dynamic that is between the two of you or group of you, however many people are involved in the situation. So these are all things that are personal to you. I feel sometimes it's a little hard to talk about these things because they are so individual. And at the same time, it does really come back to tuning into your feelings, tuning into your needs, understanding the boundaries you need to have, actually implementing and then maintaining those boundaries, as well as upholding any consequences that breaking those boundaries needs. And I don't mean to say consequences as a seriously negative thing, but if you set a boundary and somebody breaks it, and the breaking of that boundary means that they're not in your life, then that's up to you. So, I think there is a lot of instinct to burn bridges. I'm going to speak specifically for myself here, but it is a certain tendency that a lot of people have, where we are wanting to protect ourselves. So let's take another breath in. And let's look at the definition of forgiveness. All right, so I have my Webster dictionary here. Yes, I actually own a dictionary. Forgive, a verb. To give up resentment of or claim to requital for. To cease to feel resentment against. To grant relief. That could be from payment or debt. To pardon. And of course, there's also the kind of, to me, annoying definitions. To grant forgiveness, looking at forgiveness, the act of forgiving. Forgiving is an adjective, being willing or able to forgive. Better definition here for forgiving: allowing room for error or weakness. Wow. How powerful is that, huh? How beautiful. To allow room for error or weakness. To give up resentment. We're back to drinking poison, my friends. We're back. We're right back there. It all comes back. Why are we not forgiving? I'll speak personally here. There was a situation that happened actually a while ago that I've been carrying around hurt for. And I won't get into it, but it's a situation that An old version of me is screaming in the back of my head, "That's unforgivable." But is anything truly unforgivable? That's a really hard question, especially when you get into heinous crimes. And not to dive into that rabbit hole, but I will say in those situations, I do believe that we need to look at illness, because there's the saying, hurt people hurt people. And if somebody is doing something truly, like even things that are difficult to talk about, they're not well, and that doesn't make what they did okay, right? This is saying that we're allowing room for error. It doesn't mean that's okay. It was an error. And we talked about with our feelings, with our emotions, with addressing this apology, if there's an error, it makes sense that there needs to be some kind of correction. And also, maybe errors are sometimes okay. Can we use these as opportunities to learn about ourselves? Learn about the ways that maybe we're actually giving too much trust too soon. Maybe we're expecting a lot from someone or a situation than is maybe realistic. Not to be too realistic, because the world is an amazing, magical place and miracles happen all the time. But releasing resentment, making room for error, that is so powerfully coming back to us drinking our poison, wanting the other person to die. I've said this many times since it was shared with me, but our ability to cry reflects our ability to laugh, because we cannot individually suppress emotions. So if we are holding something in, if we are becoming resentful about it, if we are withholding forgiveness, those are trapped feelings that we are not allowing out. And you can keep them trapped as long as you want. Listen, I'm not here to tell you to forgive. If you don't want to forgive, that's your business. I can't make you do it. Would it give you more peace in life? Yeah, I think potentially it's highly likely. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. So I'm feeling like I'm going to hear some comments that this wasn't actually helpful for forgiving. And if that's how you feel, that's okay. I'm happy to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's look at, really, okay, how do we forgive? We looked at our feelings. We looked at our needs. We looked at why we're holding on to resentment. We're looking at our boundaries. The last part of that is the letting go part. And if you have a strong desire to protect yourself, if you have problems trusting, getting close to people, I'm not saying those are wrong, but they might be things that you want to look at so that you can have deeper relationships, so that you can have more intimate connections, so that you can have stronger emotional bonds. All right, we're going to call it there for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions or thoughts, you are free to contact me. You can reach me at Seek the Mountains on Instagram. There are dots between the words, seek.the.mountains. There's a link in the bio. You can also message me there or on my website, seekthemountains.com. I am booking private sessions for yoga, mudra meditation, tarot and astrology, as well as kind of looking at your life. If you would like help with organizing some of your thoughts, we can talk about it. So have a wonderful day. Allow yourself to forgive if you want. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.